Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back. Welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of the 17th of February, the year 2024. And once again, I'm Michael James here in Chicago. And it's always a pleasure to bring on our next guest. She's used to come on the show quite frequently when we were at the Heartland Cafe in the early days. The one and only Victoria Cervantes, who for a long time has been working to improve conditions and relationship between the United States and the people of Honduras. And she's involved in some pretty serious stuff with a former Honduran president, now indicted on drug charges, etc. Fill us in, Vicky. Tell us what's going on with Honduras.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start with the present and go back a little bit. But right now, the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernández, not affectionately known as Ho all over Honduras, is going on trial in New York City in the Southern District Court of the federal system for having his own cartel and being a narcotics trafficker. And he was in office in Honduras from 2013 until 2021, illegally most of that time, and really was part of the post-coup. There was a coup in 2009 that the U.S. supported, and he was part of the subsequent governments that really destroyed Honduras and led to things like the thousands of migrants fleeing the country. So he's going on trial. And one thing that's missing in this trial and been missing from the US government and prosecutors is the role of the United States, and also Canada is an important player, but the role of the United States, not only in supporting the coup, but in supporting the subsequent building of a narcotics dictatorship. Talking about Juan Orlando Hernández as their friend, is their partner in the war on drugs, et cetera, really supporting and propping him up when in fact he was building a cartel, and people knew that, and the government was informed about that many times by many of us and by some members of Congress like Jan Schakowsky, Chuy Garcia are two examples who brought up the human rights violations, the links with organized crime, etc. So that's why we've launched a campaign, put the US and Canada on trial. US and Canada are guilty too.
So you're saying that our two of our favorite Congress people, Jan and Chuy, they did good on this?
They did good on this.
Yes.
Yes. From the beginning, from the very beginning, after the coup.
So what's what's really interesting to me is kind of the relationship between U.S. policy and our current migrant situation. Mm-hmm. And, as I recall, that Hillary Clinton was supportive of the coup.
Yes, she was.
Way back,
yes, she was. And in fact, it's sad to say that it's been a bipartisan policy. The coup occurred when Obama was president and Clinton was Secretary of State. And after Obama made a few brief statements against it and took a few measures, but then the State Department moved on it, and Clinton supported the coup and the subsequent governments. Trump, the same policy basically, and Biden, the same policy. So just to make clear, this has not been a policy that belongs to just one party. It's been a bipartisan policy of empire.
So tell us a little bit about the campaign to put both the U.S. and Canada on trial, along with the dictator.
Yeah. So what we want to do is really bring out the history and what sort of the "we told you so," and the U.S. and Canada cannot now pretend that, he's a terrible cartel. That's just, we didn't know about it, but now we do, because in fact they did know about it. So our campaign, we're doing a bunch of education and informative articles that you can find on the HSN Facebook or on HondurasNow.org, which is a podcast and media outlet that we work with.
HSN is Honduran Solidarity
Solidarity
Network.
Network, yeah. So we're bringing out all the information, and we have Karen Spring, the co-coordinator, along with myself of HSN, is in New York and is following the trial and publishing not just what's going on in the trial, but always linking it to what's not being said in the courtroom, which is what the U.S. knew, what they were doing, and also what Canada was involved in. So we're trying to expose that the U.S. and Canada gained from this relationship with Juan Orlando Hernandez, and that's why they didn't care that he was building a cartel and increasing the power of organized crime in Honduras. So we have some demands, and we're talking to Congress and trying to get folks like Representative Chakowski and Garcia, Ramirez, Delia Ramirez, and others to support our demands to investigate, declassify, investigate, pay reparations for victims of the DEA actions, end their interference in the new government's progressive reforms, and stop supporting punitive measures in the trade agreements that are hurting Honduras' recovery from the narco dictatorship.
Vicky Cervantes, let me ask you, do you think there are other people in Congress or other people besides Chuy and Jan who you've mentioned? I bring that up because when Chuy was, Representative Garcia was on a show recently, he was pretty critical of the border negotiations, which didn't include any Latino congressional people involved with it. And I'm just wondering, do we have any more support than just our a few great Chicago congressional folks, or is there a tidal wave coming on this?
Yeah, there are a number of congressmen who have spoken out in the past. We have Hank Johnson, Ilhan Omar, a number of the squad, Tlalib, and others who have spoken out on Honduras. And our hope is, as we're launching this campaign, we launched it in January. The trial was supposed to start today, but we just found out it looks like it's going to be next week, because there's, the lawyers are all doing their maneuvers. Yeah. So we have an action that you can access on our Facebook page to let the Congress people know that you want them to meet these demands, to declassify and to investigate, have hearings into what was going on, so that we can take measures that we don't keep doing this over and over again in our policy. So we're hopeful that we can at least get more information out there and get a number of the Congress folks to sign on to this campaign.
What is the current situation in Honduras? I know that there was an election for someone more progressive. Mm-hmm. I think that didn't work out. Fill us in on where Honduras is at. And I go way back to remembering when the U.S. built a big airstrip, and that was probably during the time of the Contra War in Nicaragua. But, some of the U.S. policies in both places was horrendous. Tell us a little bit, Vicky, how Honduras is today. Who's in power? What's our relationship to them? Are there any signs of
today the government led by Xiomara Castro, who's the wife of the president who was overthrown in the coup, but an active person, an activist, and a person in her own right, not just a shadow. Her party, Libre, was formed out of the resistance to the coup, and they have a reform program. They've done some very important things in the labor law, minimum wage, amnesty for victims of the prosecution and persecution during the coup years. So they have their reform. It's not like they're able to just sweep everything away. And one of the tasks that they're struggling the most with is, of course, dismantling all of the structures, political, economic, and governmental, that were part of the narco dictatorship. Because the fact that Juan Orlando Hernandez is sitting in jail in New York has not meant that the whole narco criminal structure is gone. There's lots of people So that's been the big struggle. Unfortunately, a lot of the work they've been doing on that has been opposed by the State Department. The State Department, the ambassador in Tegucigalpa, Laura Dogu, are like incredibly active on Twitter, criticizing and calling into question the sovereignty of the Honduran government to make deep changes. So that's what's going on. There of course are weaknesses and problems, and there's this external pressure, which we also really want to take the moment to denounce, because it's hardly fair to critique a government uh, for like for all sorts of small things when you're the one that helped build up the situation that they're confronting. And that's how it also fits with this campaign, is we want the US to stop interfering with the reforms and to accept accountability and take action to correct the path of the US and Canada in Honduras.
Well, it doesn't sound like the U.S. is doing a very good job. Our State Department seems to be missing on a lot of, things going on in a lot of places. It's really too bad, and I'm glad that we do have some allies that we both know. We can encourage them to make some pushes. Tell us a little bit, sum up the campaign and how people make contact and what you would like them to do.
Right. So our campaign we're calling it Put the US and Canada on Trial. And what we mean by that is hold them accountable for their role in destroying democracy and establishing the narco dictatorship in Honduras, which destroyed the economy and the social fabric, and the Hondurans are struggling to overcome it. What we want people to do is we have a list of demands. You can see them all on hondurasnow.org, also on the Honduras Solidarity Network Twitter feed and Facebook. And we have petitions to Congress. We have language for letters to the editor, so we can get more of this information out. And today at 11:30 Chicago time, Karen Spring will be going live on our Facebook page just to give an update about the campaign and what's happening in New York City. Karen lives in Honduras. She's married to a former political prisoner in Honduras, and she's co-coordinator with me of the HSN. So she's going to be there, and that will be at around 11:30 Chicago time today.
Yeah, that's today. Well, that's long after this show is. But give us one more time the Facebook site and the email site.
So Facebook is, you just look up Honduras Solidarity Network, and you get right there. We also have Twitter. You look up again Honduras Solidarity Network, and the other site where we have all of our documents and campaign is hondurasnow.org, and that's a podcast and media site.
Vicky Cervantes, you always enhance my knowledge, and I'm greatly appreciative. And, if you will, I'm going to try to get a promise out of you, not only to come back on the show, but if you ever have little announcements or little news items, I'm always looking for material for the opening remarks of the show. So keep it coming, just like you did today. Today, I woke up and there you were on my phone, and I said, oh, great. And I was in need of another guest. And, you're always one of the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I hope to come back in a few weeks, maybe, when we see what's happening in New York. I'm in Chicago. I am. My internet feels like I'm in Honduras, but I am actually in Chicago. But I would hope to be able to update you in a few weeks when the trial is in full swing and our campaign is going.
Right on,
Thank
sister.
you so much. I appreciate your work so much, all of you.